Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Christmas Land. I am your host, Kira Davis, joined as always by my lovely co-host and resident Christmas Land expert, Amelia Hamilton. Amelia, thank you for your grace last week. We had to take the week off last week because some gigs came up for me, and a girl's got to eat. So, and thank you to Amelia and to the audience for understanding that. But we're back. We're back this week. Hello to you.
Here we are. Feels good to be back.
It's good to be back always. And again, I do appreciate all of the patience from our audience. And let's see, Amelia, let's just get right into it. We have, but before we get started, I just want to encourage everybody, of course, to sign up for our Substack. This really is a Substack show. We put it on YouTube and other places, but really it's a Substack show. So go to Substack, Journey to Christmas Land. You can just search it on Substack. That's fine. And like and subscribe to everything. And if you're listening on an audio platform, then give us a review. Give us a 5-star review. Hit that. Costs you nothing, but it's the ultimate Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Amelia, this week we are in Christmas Land. We're always in Christmas Land. That's where we live. That's where the show lives. But it's not always winter in Christmas Land. So we are taking a little jaunt to a different season in Christmas Land. Set us up here, Amelia.
All right. It is fall actually. And we have a new job, first of all, which influencer. I was not expecting that ever to come into the world of Great American Family. But here we are. Influencer.
Here we are.
We are watching Sweet Maple Romance, also known as Beauty of Love, because we cannot pick movies that have one title.
Listen, when I was looking for this movie, it took me like a good 6 or 7 tries because I kept thinking it was taking me to the wrong movie. And then finally I was like, maybe this is a Royal in Paradise kind of situation. And it was. I feel like we're confused 3/4 of the time in our life anyway. I really resent Christmas Land movies adding to this
Making it
confusion.
work. I know.
Yep.
So this movie, it jumps right in. We've got Emma, who is our influencer, who her brand is classically Emma. And she is running some kind of event that honestly doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So she calls, she's got her friend Jessie, who I'm just going to kind of skip through the setup because it's just what it is.
There's a lot of that, by the way, in this movie. It's just what it is. There's a lot of that.
So basically, all you need to know from this part is she's got a black best friend who is also her assistant. His name is Jesse. He's also like ambiguously possibly gay, I felt like.
We didn't go after it, and I was fine with it. I was like, is this going to go somewhere? Because they're clearly not going to give this guy a B romance.
Right.
I was wondering, though, if they were going to do it.
Right.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
Ambiguously gay is fine in Great American.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
I mean, it's fine anywhere, to be honest. Like, we don't really care, but we have formulas here.
Funny because like you get the influencer, so he's kind of like the fashion-y sort of guy that,
even though he was only in a button up.
Right.
He really
wasn't that like fashionable, but he was supposed to be like the really like fashion forward, whatever kind of guy. So Francesca is at this event, who I guess is like her superior, but I don't really understand how.
I didn't.
Okay, fine. That's your
I
ball.
did not understand. Like, is Francesca the CEO of a larger corporation, and then classically Emma is like a part of it?
I did
She's
not
her
understand
investor?
anything about this work situation at all.
Nothing.
Because Francesca is here to tell her that it's time for the quarterly review. The numbers are flat. They're stagnant. They're not at the forefront of their trends. They need new products. But people crave comfort, indulgences that they can afford, not trendy. It needs to be hot and cozy. And they land on a phrase, meaningful coziness. And I'm like, but again, like, what do you do? Like, because if she's an influencer, I'm not an influencer, so maybe I have it all wrong, but I feel like she's more like just like in marketing, not really.
Right. Okay. I was completely confused by the setup of this.
Yeah.
I thought she was setting up an event. Jesse was her assistant. Francesca's obviously in charge of this product line. It wasn't until she got to the main location that I realized, she's the brand. But then what did I just watch? What did I go through? Because when they sat down at that table, it was Francesca going, I hate to tell you guys this, but it's a little stale. So I thought that was her marketing team.
Right. Yeah. But
I don't know. Maybe classically Emma is a marketing influencer.
I
on
guess,
Scoop
I mean, and
Chatter?
I realize that influencers, like, that's what they do, are brand partnerships, so maybe, like, her partnerships were off,
I
but
don't understand, but we're gonna go with it.
we're just
We'll
gonna
just
accept
go
it.
with it.
To move on. So they're going through some of the things that people have sent them, trying to get classically Emma to, push these brands. And they got one from this brand in Vermont, Vermont Botanicals, which the whole time they pronounced it Botanicals, which for some reason, Vermont Botanicals.
I think it's Canadian. I
Yeah.
think it's the Canadians' fault.
And they were like, "Ugh, homemade really isn't like us. It's not really what we do, but it smells good," is the thing.
Yeah, again, they we don't do, like, the natural hello, that's the, Vermont Botanicals calling.
It was one it was it was Jill from Vermont Botanicals.
They want you to be a brand ambassador,
They do,
Amelia.
they do.
But
They
yeah,
want you to do it because money is money.
again, this is a situation where I felt that was sort of
Mm.
reviewing the product for her boss. It was mostly like I didn't feel like they were coming for Emma. I thought I don't know, I didn't understand the relationship once again.
Right.
I will tell you this, Amelia, that once I saw that this was from Vermont, it was Vermont Botanicals. I was like, okay, we're gonna get some romance here.
Yeah. I mean, because how could you not in
It's
Vermont?
Vermont.
So they decide they're gonna call Jill right now from Vermont Botanicals and talk to her about it. And she's like, "Listen, you should come to Vermont, see how we make everything here. Also, we have an inn right at the farm." So, I mean, there's an inn, there's a farm, there's skincare, there's influencers. I don't really understand anything, but we don't need to. We just need to buy into it.
Well, she
And
was like, no, but what happened was in the beginning, Emma was asking her, tell us what your what your inspiration is or whatever. And then she said like three words. She's like, well, fresh ingredients. You know what? It's really hard to explain. Why don't you just come here?
you need an elevator pitch.
I feel like you can explain scented candles and
Right.
scented cream pretty well over the
Right.
phone,
Yeah.
but it is what it
So
is. We got to get her there.
Francesca and Jesse, or not Jesse, what's his name? The assistant guy. They like just make her go. And it turns out she can just go this weekend. She has time. So
Yeah.
she's going to go this weekend. So she immediately, next scene, she is arriving at this beautiful farm and she is dressed in a blazer, short shorts, but they're like tailored shorts. They're formal shorts. This movie's from 2001, by the way. I
Mhm.
feel like formal shorts were already over in
Two-
2001.
2021.
I'm
2021.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
2021. And formal shorts, I feel like we weren't doing that anymore, but what do I know?
I loved it actually. When she got out, I was like, that girl's
High
got
heels.
gams. It was like, I liked it.
She had wonderful legs, but
Mhm.
I mean, and it was again just like busy businesswoman. She's wearing high heels and like suit clothes to the
We're
farm.
still doing that in California, so maybe it was the California
Okay.
influence, like the costume designers.
Maybe. I mean, maybe she's a California girl. I don't actually know where Emma was from.
We never got that answer.
No.
We'll get to that.
So she gets there and immediately we get the like, she's a cool girl because the main guy at the farm, who turns out his name is Jesse, he's throwing the football around with his dad, Carl. The football goes over to her. She catches it, because she's cool. And Jesse's like, I'm really sorry. He obviously doesn't know who she is.
Mhm.
She's classically Emma, and he doesn't even know. And
Does
he's
he
like,
even internet?
apparently not. And he's like, the inn is closed until the inspection, and the inspection isn't until the renovation, so obviously you can't be here. And she's like, he doesn't even know who that is. And so
I was embarrassed for him.
I know it was really embarrassing. But then she like throws the football back. I mean, she's so cool.
This
But
is a cool
then,
girl.
not Jessica, Jill comes up, and oh no, first we meet Betty. And Betty, her store was the first to carry the Vermont Botanicals, and there's kind of a vibe between Betty and Carl, the dad. So just keep that in your pocket for now.
We love a good parent romance. We love a
Mhm.
good parent B romance.
So Jill, no, not I keep doing this on the names. Emma has a little sniff of one of the products and is like, these are really fragrant.
Yes.
What a natural thing to say.
She's like, it's so fragrant. I'm like, well, isn't that the point? It's supposed to be fragrant.
Right. Jill comes up and is casually like, "Oh, I see you met my brother who has an MBA from an Ivy League school."
He doesn't live in New York anymore. He lives here and he's my business partner. So glad.
Yeah. Also, one thing I appreciated about the costuming is everybody was still doing a French tuck. I miss a French tuck.
Yeah, you know what? Same.
Can we bring that
Same.
back, please? I know
Let's
that I'm
bring it
elder millennial, but can we bring that back?
Yeah, let's bring it back. I think it has a nice crisp it makes it the look, like, a little cleaner.
I miss it. Let's bring it
Yeah.
back.
I know, as a parent of Gen Zers, yeah, bring it back.
So anyway, Jill tells Jesse that even that she didn't tell him about Emma coming because, quote, you came home from the big city so you could escape the business world and all that stuff.
Well, now we know.
Now we
Now
know.
we know. Now we know the brother's entire backstory, so thank you to Jill. It
Thank
was
you, Jill.
that was about a
You
three-minute
worked it all
exposition.
in. You worked it all in.
All in. Like, swear though, we really do, Amelia, we need to come up with, like, some kinda exposition award.
That's
We
true.
need to add this to the like, let's think on that and we'll launch it next season.
Yeah. But Jill has a problem. The jar shipment that just came in is wrong. It's wrong.
What?
So Jesse has to help Emma get situated in the inn because they're going to let her stay here, even though it has not up to code. And
Yeah, which was by the way, it was like this gorgeous,
yeah,
luxurious location and not up
right,
to code.
but a clear fire hazard apparently or something, infested with something. I don't know, full of mold. So she's like, listen, help Emma get settled in and show her the mint line. So he goes up to her room to get her. The bed takes up the entire wall.
This was awesome. I
I was
let
there
me
for
let me just say this location was it feels like they made a movie around a location because the
it.
movie wasn't that filled in. Not
Mhm.
mad about it though. This location was stunning. When I saw that the at first you just see that bed, and so I was like, "Whoa, that's a really big bed." But when you pull back, it's the steeple like on top of the barn which she's staying in. I don't know where this thing is, Amelia, but I want to go there and I want to stay in that room. And by the way, I don't know what they're talking about. Like the place was closed. It looked perfectly fine.
We don't know what's going on structurally. We don't know what's happening with the plumbing, with the electrical.
That's true. She seemed okay though.
She was fine.
No, but it was
I
like
mean,
and it was like
spoiler,
windows.
she gets out alive.
Yeah. I okay, I have some I have there was points in this movie because it really got pretty dry in the middle. There was points in this movie, Amelia, where I was like, I bet I could with the soundtrack change, we could make this into a horror movie. There literally were points.
We have a friend who scores movies. I bet he could do it.
I,
Boris could do this.
I kind of was wondering if there could like fun little thing we could do where we just make it into a horror movie.
So Jesse and Emma go out to, there's like another barn, um, where Jill does her skincare, and he teaches her all about the different kinds of mint, and then she has him hold her phone, and she makes a little video. They're kind of, I don't know. He's like not super sure, but he does like appreciate her video, I guess.
I
I
guess
don't know.
because I don't know what this woman did to make him fall in love with her. She really didn't seem to have any skills. She didn't make anything, build anything, convince anyone. She
Right.
did nothing but take videos. Whatever he saw through the camera, he like I wanna say this.
Mhm.
I think I'll say this at this point. Before I criticize, everyone in this movie was gorgeous, and
Mhm.
everyone in this movie did a great job. I
Yeah.
thought the performances were exactly what you would expect from the script that they were given. No complaints about the actors. However, this actress I felt was very uncomfortable. Did you get that sense from watching her? She had her hands were like this in every scene, right up here, and they never moved and I just kept wishing for her to relax a little bit or hold something or hold a prop. And this
Yeah.
is how she did every scene. After a while, it made me think that the actress was uncomfortable about something.
Interesting.
Did you
I
sense that
didn't
at
notice
all?
the specifically, but it did feel like, I mean, I was not influenced to buy Vermont botanicals. I wasn't feeling it.
And also that the area, like the shop area, like where
Yeah,
she
in the
makes all
workshop.
her
Yeah.
stuff, it was just completely set up like a movie scene, like
Yeah.
it wasn't like jars everywhere and spills
Right. It was like
everywhere
a
and
quick
paper
place.
towel. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of set pieces, they go outside now, Jesse and Emma, to have some maple lemonade. And I do not understand what's going on here. This spot came up a couple times. Okay. We're going to go into one of my rabbit holes for a minute because I know that you think I'm weird, but here we go. In the 18th century in England, people were building ruins on their property to make it look like they came from like a really old family and had lived in this spot for centuries. They would build ruins called a folly. And I wrote down they're having lemonade in the folly because there were just these columns. They were sitting there
Yeah.
having lemonade between these columns. I was like, why? What is this?
Yes.
Where are we? Why are we having
That
lemonade in the folly?
that's so interesting. I also wondered, I was like, maybe this is a part of that property because it was clearly this was all one property that they filmed. It was a great location.
Yeah,
I must have been fun to stay there to film. But I was like, "What are these things, and why do we keep going
right.
back there, and what are they for?" I was thinking my rabbit hole is, like, I'm super black pilled, so then I was like, "Oh, are these the
Like in some
weirdos in Vermont put
alien.
these up, and they run some kinda, like, ceremony?" Again, another space for a horror movie for this to turn into a horror movie.
I mean, it's probably, genuinely, this site, I'm sure, has a lot of events and photo shoots, and they're
Yeah.
for photography. But I was like thinking, okay, this is supposed to be a working farm, and they're just like, let's go have lemonade
Yeah.
at the farm.
Maple lemonade. Maple lemonade. Now this maple theme, I didn't think it was enough to change the name of the movie, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
Yep. The maple theme comes and it goes, but they changed the
Yeah.
whole title based on it, so
Well, yeah, I mean, it comes in a little stronger later.
we'll see.
All right. So we find out she's from a small town in Massachusetts. So we kind of got that in common. They're just a couple of small town girls living in a lonely world. But.
Okay. I didn't hear that part. She's from Massachusetts. Okay, I did not hear that. I kept waiting to hear where she was from. All
Yeah.
I knew is she was a city
They're
girl
a couple
from New
small
York.
town New Englanders. And then she moved to New York and, as he also lived in the big city, but then he went home after he got his MBA from an Ivy League school.
Right. That's right. I do remember that. And then now he's a business partner with his sister.
Then they played the either or game, which was another, I guess it was a cute way to work in some exposition because it's hard. Like we've talked about how the exposition is so forced. And so every time she did like an either or, like his example was chocolate or vanilla. And she's just like, vanilla. And he's like, but don't you need to know? Like, is it ice cream or is it cookies or is it And she's like, no, there are no, you don't get to ask a follow up. You just have to pick one. And so he goes, well, some of us don't make life. Or no, so she says, some of us don't make life so complicated. And he says, I don't see clarity as a complication. It's the gray area that gets you in trouble. So now we've learned something about.
I don't know. I really there were a lot of these scenes in this movie which was just them walking and talking, and I still didn't feel like I advanced the plot at all listening to them talk. And this was one of those scenes. It made me wonder, Amelia, how could you take a scene like that and give it a little more action that doesn't add to the budget of
Right.
and
I
I
mean,
wanted to ask you that because there were a number of times in this movie where I thought, I would love to see what ideas Amelia
well,
might have for what she would do
why
different.
couldn't they have been making the lemonade? They could have been squeezing the lemons. I mean, that would have been like nothing.
Nothing.
Just
$5 for a bag of lemons.
right.
It just instead it
It
was
would have been
just this.
something to do.
It would have I just walk and talks have to be carefully spaced
Yeah.
out. You need some action. There wasn't enough action around the conversation, and I realized that the action helps me drill down on the conversation and the details of all that.
Mhm.
It makes the exposition more palatable.
Yeah. Francesca calls. Good news, numbers are trending up.
Right. Great.
So
Right.
Vermont botanicals might be the key to everything. And Emma tells Francesca that she thinks Jill is going to be on board with everything, but she doesn't know about Jesse. So she just needs to convince him. Again, I get that he's a little bit skeptical about, big city, but if they're going to sell stuff, sounds good.
I didn't get the impression that Jesse was that against growth. And I think they tried to give that to us in exposition because wasn't there a few times when Jill, like every now and again, Jill would mention to Jesse, like, well, I just didn't want, I didn't want to talk about the business because I know you're kind of burned from your New York experience. There's a couple and I was like, well, again, another opportunity to make this a horror movie because I was like, well, what happened to him in New York? That busy businessman life must have been so horrifying. She can't even mention business deals around him.
Right. Right. Okay. So Emma talks to Jill later And she talks about, wanting naturally sourced ingredients, locally sourced ingredients, but she wants to work with farms around the country so they can get all kinds of different native plants, which I think is kind
I
of a
like
cool idea. I
Yeah,
was
I
into it.
loved it.
Later that night, I found this incredibly awkward. The dinner, I don't know if you noticed anything
Yeah.
about. Okay, so they come to the dinner and everybody comes in and sits down and they kind of chit chat for a minute. And then Jill's like, oops, I forgot to bring food. So
I
Jill
was like
picks up this like tray, like what it was deep. It was like a deep tray.
like a
I don't know.
serving
Like
tray, like
galvanized.
breakfast in bed.
Yeah. Like galvanized tray thing. And then she just like leaves completely and then comes back with a whole meal, but like it didn't feel like enough to feed 5 people or however many people were there. But the whole thing was so weird to me. Like
It was
she
Yeah, it
came
was
in
like
to feed everybody, but then didn't have food and didn't realize it until they'd already chit chatted for 10 minutes. And then like it felt like she was leaving to go to some external kitchen in another county.
I
I
think
don't
she
know.
was. She disappeared outside the door. And by the way, again, another moment for a horror movie because
Right.
I did notice they had a smoke machine running outside that door so that I
You
noticed
noticed?
the mist coming in. So she disappeared into that mist, into
Right.
that doorway, and the doorway goes outside. It doesn't go to a kitchen. It goes outside. But it was incredibly strange. There were half jokes that never got explained. It seemed
Yeah.
like they were supposed to be having these bonding moments, but then they never came to fruition. For instance, Amelia, when they joked about Jesse being a singer or Jesse having a
He was
moment
in
where
a boy band in college, yeah.
he used to be in why and then she said, "Well, I want to see something." And he said, "Oh, no, no. What a great opportunity. Stand
Right,
up, do a little jig."
right. Even at the party at the end where, like, you don't see him, like, do a dance or anything that calls back to that ever.
Yeah, it was just a missed opportunity for genuine connection, and instead they tried to do it with words that didn't quite land, and then, as you say, after 10 minutes of that or whatever, it felt like 10 minutes, then Jill is like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot dinner." Like, this is literally what you're sitting at the table for.
Or
Dinner.
yeah, yeah.
You forgot it?
So I'm just gonna go and then bring back, like, not enough food,
A
but
little
okay.
bit. A little dollop will do ya. That was like Mark's mom is the joke in Mark's family is that his mom never did like she never made enough for extras. Everybody you get what you get, and it's a dollop, and she had boys, right? They are all football players, so they never had enough, and she would always be like, "A dollop will do ya. A dollop will do ya." So I feel
Well,
like
I mean, Mark did grow to be big and tall, so it worked.
it did work. A dollop will do ya.
But at the end of the night, Jesse admitted that Jill was right about Emma. So he came around. I don't know why, but he did.
I think it was that incredibly deep and fascinating, dinner conversation.
And now, not only has he come around, but the whole thing has switched and they've decided they need to impress Emma,
Right,
which was
right.
actually the original plan. Emma went there to get impressed, for them to sell her, so that she would agree to like represent their brand.
There was a deep
And then like who is trying to get who on board here?
Right, there was a lack of conflict, clear conflict in this movie,
Right.
so I felt like the premise was not set up properly from the start, so it did feel willy-nilly in there, and when he said, "Okay, it's Operation Impress Emma," I was like, I thought that's what we were
It
doing."
always was. But
Right.
earlier in the conversation with Francesca, Emma had been like, well, Jill's on board, but Jesse isn't. So, okay.
Well, we're just going with it. We'll
We're
just go
going
with
with
it.
it. We're going with it.
We're going with it.
The next day, they are working on some new products, obviously. And Emma wants to learn how to make body butter because it is rich and luscious.
It's like someone opened the thesaurus, was like, "What
I was
words
like,
would you
oh,
use for
is it?
body cream? Rich and luscious? Oh, really? Okay."
Somebody went like, go to Walgreens and look at some body butter and tell me what it says. Rich and luscious. Okay.
Okay, go on.
We have a montage of making some rich and luscious body butter.
This scene was interminable. It lasted for freaking ever. It was over 10 minutes in this one room, and they weren't doing anything but making body butter.
They
And
needed
that's what
Lacey Chabert to make this work. I mean, that's the level of montage skill.
what did you say? I missed that.
Only Lacey Chabert could have made this work. She's the only one who can montage like that.
I think late and she would have had a tough time even,
I
but
know. I know.
I think Lacey would have had the stuff. These guys, again, I wanna just reiterate the actors were giving their all and doing the best with the material that they had, so I don't really
Yeah.
it wasn't a performance issue, it was just what was there for them to do,
Yeah.
and there just wasn't a lot to do. They weren't even conversing at one point, they were for 10 minutes, they were he was just like, "And now take the mint, and now sprinkle this in, and
Yeah.
now sprinkle
Stir
that
this,
in."
now muddle that, yeah.
I need some plot, let's move something forward here.
Yeah, and that's also just an editing issue. I'm sure they did not expect the actors were like, "Okay, we'll get some B-roll of this, some B-roll of that. It's not gonna be 10 minutes." And then it was.
There was a couple of moments like that too, where the actors clearly were giving montage energy, and then the
Yeah.
movie did not honor them with a montage.
Right. They get to the end of the body butter creation.
Finally.
It is the pivotal moment. What is the key ingredient gonna be? Like, we have the base, but what is, like, the standout note? And she's like, "What about maple?"
And that's crazy. That's crazy.
What? In Vermont?
That is
Maple?
crazy talk.
So, they let her put in some maple, which is, I mean, it's just like maple sap, you know?
It's ser
It's like maple syrup. And then, she does, like, the little hand mixer, and it didn't spray.
well, it was an older hand mixer, Amelia. I don't know if you noticed that, but that was the secret to making rich and luscious
Luscious.
body butter is a old-fashioned hand mixer. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna you just go with it, Amelia.
Yeah. Just go with it. Which
Just
part of
go
me
with it.
appreciated that it didn't, spray everywhere and get them all messy because it's kind of a cliche, but part of me was also like, at this point, I could have used a cliche.
Another missed opportunity, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you elevate that scene, make it a little more action oriented without
Right.
adding to the budget?
Right. It's a reason for them to touch or to laugh or to, connect somehow, but
There
she
was
just
none of that.
hung
Amelia,
it up.
why couldn't she go up on a little stepladder to get one of the herbs on the top shelf? How
Right.
hard would it have been?
I know.
Fall,
Catch.
catch. That's just like these people didn't even watch March Madness before they made this movie.
Well, to be fair, it was 2021.
I no excuses.
That's true. That's true. So later that night, Jesse and Emma are talking about scents. And he tells her, and I was shocked, but lavender is a bestseller because it is shown to elevate mood. What? So
What?
she asks what makes him happy. And he says, "I'm happy right now." And she says, "Me too."
That was an opportunity. And that guys, that's an opportunity for you to like share some of yourself, right?
Right.
We do like to know you're happy with us, but then genuinely tell us what makes you happy. Alls I knew about Jesse is that he had an
Mhm.
MBA, he was a big city businessman, something horrifying and horrific. Probably he saw, someone get murdered or something in New York.
Yeah.
Something horrified, like at a business meeting, right?
Right. Like as
Something
they were
that
closing a deal, he got stabbed with a pen.
traumatized him during a business meeting, and he had to go back to Vermont and eschew business forever. That's all
Yeah.
we know about him. We
Yeah.
never get
He's
these
like
little
he's like, "Little sister, I'm gonna run your business, but only because I think it's gonna fail. If it starts to succeed, I am out."
big brother by the little sister as your big brother.
I
I'm
hope
only running this because it's too small to be anything important.
I do not believe in you. So now Jesse and Emma go on a hike after they have said how happy they are together.
Okay,
Again,
and
walk and talk.
I walk and talk okay, but it was not a hike. All right, like I thought it was going to
It's a
be a
walk.
hike. It was just a
It's a walk.
stroll.
So he says a partnership for the classically Emma body butter would be great. And she's like, "But what if we did a whole line?" Which I thought they were doing the whole time.
Again, that's what I thought, right? That was the package that Jill sent with all this stuff, like for all but she didn't just say that. She said this, but what if we made it a whole line? This was like her hands. This was one of the scenes where I realized like she was making me feel tense because those hands never dropped the whole time. And I thought if they were going on a hike, it might be an opportunity to see her working her arms or something. No,
Because it's a walk.
okay, Amelia, here's your opportunity. So how do you elevate this scene, make it action oriented without adding to the budget, but giving a little zhuzh?
Okay. I think she could be looking through the products they already have and going, "This could work with maple. This could work with maple. Maybe not this, but we could do this as a line." Or even like showing him her website and going, "We could do it like this. We could, somehow." I don't know. But I
Well,
mean,
what about on the hike though? Because this walk and talk
we're
was
on a
long
hike.
too.
I guess just why are they on a hike all the
Could you
time?
stop and like pick something, right? Like He could
Yeah.
show her like, "Look at this. This is the XYZ bush, and Jill loves
Yeah,
these
but I think
things."
aren't they already committed to maple at this point? Okay, so they could be in a hike, like, in a maple grove, and he could be, like, telling her something about the maple trees,
There you
and she could
go.
be like, "We can incorporate that into the branding, into the label."
There you go. There you go. We fixed it for you. But this was interminable. It was much like the body butter scene. I just was like, nothing's happening here.
Yeah. Something is happening at the grocery store, though. Dad, what's his name? Carl, is at the grocery store, and Betty works there and as I wrote down, Dad is at the grocery store and sees Betty, who I forgot existed. This has been a minute.
A dad existed, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So he tries twice to ask her out. He kind of starts and then chickens out and starts and fails.
He's kind
Anyway,
of dopey. But I will say this about this scene. Kudos to the actress. One of the things that we love about Christmas Land movies is that there really is no negativity in
yeah,
them. And even when someone's having an awkward moment, it's not allowed to stay awkward. So Betty, the character, was so accommodating to him. It
yeah,
wasn't like she was like I would have been like, "What, you dummy? Like, you jerk. You can't even
yeah.
get this out. Forget it. Don't even bother asking
Well,
me.
I
Try
don't
it
think
again."
she realized that he was trying. Because
No,
doesn't
I
she
think.
keep getting distracted by work in this scene? I think like customers are asking her stuff, and I'm trying to
But
remember.
then he says, doesn't he ask her? And then he says something like, "I actually just wanted this." And she says, "You're not very good at fibbing, are you?" Which is a very Canadian word, by the way, fibbing.
I don't remember. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
she
Since
says
I watched
that.
it, so maybe.
I do remember it because it was like a flag in my mind because I remember thinking, "Oh, she's so sweet about it, though.
Yeah,
She didn't punish him for it," which is what, like in a regular, like in
yeah. It's
Holiday
kinda like
Land, it might be some
yeah, like
sarcasm there.
loving cheek.
But she understood, like, Carl's just awkward and I know he likes me and, I'm
Yeah,
going to just keep encouraging. I don't know, a sweet little moment that
yeah,
I love about Christmas Land movies.
yeah. The Carl and Betty movie probably would have been cuter.
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely would have been more going on because the only action or stakes that you saw were when Carl and Betty were in a scene.
And guess what? Jesse and
Wha
Emma are going for a walk. Yeah. So he tells her the whole story of how Jill started the body care line. I don't know why Jill isn't telling her the story,
Right.
but okay. So she asks if he's found his passion yet and says, why did I miss my spot? I think sometimes you can just get so comfortable with the little world you've created. It's hard to see beyond it until someone comes by and opens your eyes to the possibilities.
I feel like that was about her.
What? I think it was about business and
I
the body care line.
I'm just so, I'm naive, I guess. I really felt like
Um,
she was actually talking about something else, like she was talking symbolically.
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was about her, but the opportunity she's bringing to Jill's body care line.
Oh, alright, alright. Well, we won't know
Because
because we
there is
didn't
no
have.
chemistry with the characters.
Yeah, we don't have, Jill to tell the story. Also, when he was telling the story about what an inspiration Jill was, the story was like she saw a field full of flowers and was like, "That would be cool to put in some creams and stuff." Like, that was I thought, like, oh, she went on a mission trip to Tarovia,
Right,
and she came across, like, a field of flowers with these orphan children that she
right,
was.
and they were all suffering from burns, and she realized she knew about a plant, right.
It wasn't anything like that. One day, Jill was walking and she saw a field of flowers and she was like, "That's beautiful." And then Emma's like, "That's amazing. What an amazing story." She's so inspirational.
Yes. So they're all systems go on this body butter, which is rich and luscious. And they're so all systems go that Emma is like, I want to announce it while I'm still here, which is definitely how business works that you like launch something in a week.
Let us talk about this right quick. That little tiny little station that she had in her room, one room that had like a few herbs in small pots, like
Yeah.
seedling herbs in small pots, and then a few things here and there. I mean, she was making, from her setup, she was making maybe 1 or 2 bars of soap a week,
Right.
not
Right.
1,000. And so Emma asks
Mm.
her, "What if you had to scale up,
Yeah.
really quickly?" And the answer was like, "Oh, yeah, we could totally do that."
Yeah.
But
Because
there
she's
was
got like little shoemakers elves around the country who all could pitch in.
she doesn't even have the right jars.
No.
The jars garden accept. But I was like, she can't scale up. She needs like about 50 other employees, and you need like an industrial size farm of herbs, like
Right.
not the little pots you grow on your windowsill, which is what she had.
That's what she literally what she has. Later that night, C wanders down to the kitchen for probably some cocoa and sees Emma and Dad having some late night ice cream. After she fixes the ice cream machine, because the dad doesn't know how to run it, even though it's in his house, by the
Yep,
way, which is
yep.
just, I'm just going to mention that quickly. Emma's trying to help him with Betty, and Jesse just is like, how did we ever live without her? I mean, that's what he's saying with his eyes.
Again, this was a moment where I felt like we could turn this into a horror movie just by putting a different soundtrack. The way they were talking about that maple creamy thing, it almost sounded like raunchy after and then I thought with the change in soundtrack, this could be totally different. What if she turns it like she's stalking the dad? What if this is like a May, December stalker situation? This big city girl comes in. I
Okay.
don't know. Also, another missed opportunity for action. She fixes the ice cream machine by just simply pulling it out from the wall.
Right. He didn't have
And
enough ventilation in the back.
okay, fine, but, like, instead of having a scene where you just stand and stare at each other and talk, why don't you talk over unscrewing the panel? You don't have
Right.
to do anything to
"Hey,
the
will you hand me
machine.
that screwdriver? Thanks. Hey, would"
Yeah,
yeah.
just unscrew the panel, look inside. I get you don't wanna ruin the machine because you probably rented it for the movie, but, unscrew the panel, look in. I don't know, she just pulled the machine out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jesse loved it.
It could have even just been harder to pull the machine out, you know? She's
Right,
like,
right, it could have been like, "This is heavy, Carl." Yeah, well, it's gotta
yeah,
take teamwork, it's gotta take
right.
anyway, just go with it.
Yeah. They're back at the country store where Betty works the next day, which this angle of it really reminded me of Rose Apothecary, by the way. I'm just gonna put that out there from Schitt's Creek.
Okay, I didn't think about that.
So Carl is again getting all up in his head and just starts ordering cheese like crazy, and it was making me think about Gouda.
Me too. I feel like I'm in the Gouda movie.
Like, it was so much cheese. And finally, he, like, gets it out, so cool. He asked her out. He asked her to
Well,
the
Emma helped out a little bit.
yeah, she did help, but
Yeah.
finally yeah, she basically asks her, but they get it out, she's coming to the launch party, and Jesse's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Yeah, Jesse's like, "I don't even know what's going on
He
here.
can't fathom
I'm
asking out a woman.
dumb guy." Yeah, your dad's trying to ask out Betty, idiot. Like, he clearly likes her.
Yeah. Once again, uh, Jesse and Emma go for a picnic in the folly, between the pillars.
In the Folly. A picnic in the Folly. Again, okay, this one, Amelia, I was like, "Where did this come from?" Like, what, a picnic now? Don't they
Yeah,
have
'cause
stuff to prepare for it?
I think before it was like a ruin, like, I think there were arches and stuff, and now it's pillars. I think it's a separate folly.
And he had the whole setup there.
Yeah, yeah. So we find out he used to work in corporate finance, and he wants to use his business skills to help his family, and then he weaves her a bracelet of okay.
But not really. Again, that could have been a scene where he was working as he was talking, but all
Right,
we got to see was him laying out some flowers on the blanket and then he
and then
presented
he
it to her.
presents
There's
it.
so many holes in this. You can elevate, it doesn't cost you any extra to go get fake flowers for $2 and have him weave something while he's talking
Yeah.
or have him show her how to
Right,
make the
showing her
bracelet.
yeah. They're having a little moment, and he goes in to kiss her, but she's looking at her bracelet, so they bonk heads. I mean, I guess it was cute, and it was like they didn't kiss before the end, so it was
It
a
was
way to kiss
something.
before the end. I do like the almost kiss.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, I do too, but just the whole scene was awkward and put in there. I like just sort of wedged in there. I didn't understand. There was this weird moment with the cheese and dipping it in maple sauce, and I couldn't tell, are they joking? Are they not? Is this sarcasm? Does
Yeah.
he like it? Does
They
she
didn't
like
seem
it?
to enjoy it.
Like, there's this moment, folks, where she takes a certain type of cheese and she dips it in the maple butter. And he goes, "Oh no, that cheese goes better on bread." And then this is her strong, independent woman moment. She's like, "He doesn't tell me where to dip my cheese." She dips cheese.
"Don't love my cheese."
She dips the cheese anyway. She eats it. She's like, and it drags. That's like a whole like 2 minutes of her going, and him going, you can't possibly think it's real. I didn't even know what these flavors were supposed to be, so
Yeah,
I didn't even know if I was supposed to be rooting for her to like the cheese or rooting for her to not like it. I
right.
couldn't tell. No one explained it to me, and so it was just like 2 minutes of these two playing this game of, like,
These
her
2
eating
days?
and, "Oh, you have to try it," and he's like, "Oh, you're tricking me. It doesn't taste good." "No, you have to try it." And then he tastes it and he's like, yeah." And I'm like, "Are they being sarcastic or," and then they laugh and he goes, "You knew that wasn't gonna be good," or I was like, "I didn't get this
I
at all."
Yeah. All right. It is party day already because we are ready to launch this line.
Oh, yeah, no,
Or at
which I
least
forgot
writing
about.
it. I don't know. And you will never believe who showed up to this party.
Who showed up?
Edward Hawke, who no one has ever heard of in this movie before.
Edward, wait a minute, wait 1 second, Edward Hawke
The
came?
Edward Hawke, New
The Edward
York
Hawke?
leading investor in beauty and cosmetics.
Robert A. Barron's business partner, Edward
Edward Hawke.
J. Hawke?
Mhm. Mhm. The
I
very
couldn't believe
one.
it. Shocked.
So Emma goes, "Oh." So Emma is telling Jill, so I didn't even write this down originally because I didn't think it mattered, and then I did. So Jill comes down the stairs for like the dress reveal, and it's just a dress. And I was confused because earlier Jill was like, "Hey, you don't need like a special gown because I really like the dress you're wearing. It just needs a little something something." And now Jill comes down wearing something entirely different.
Yeah.
It's not the same dress. So I was like, I don't understand what that scene
No,
was
you must
earlier.
have missed, okay, you must have missed the one line at the end of that. After all of this, she tries on all of these dresses. By the way, another section where they tried to do a montage. The actors gave montage energy, and the movie did not honor them with a montage because Emma brought, or Jess, or the assistant, the black best friend, brought a rack of New York City dresses for Jill
Right.
to try on. And she goes to try them on. Remember this, Amelia? And they
Yes.
do a little montage, but there's still sound in the montage. You
Right.
could tell that the actors were acting to a montage, but they
Mhm.
didn't make it into a montage, which would be a series of vignettes set over music, no
Right.
sound. It was incredibly awkward. But then, yes, at the very end, after all of that, even after a dress, they were like, wow, that's the dress. That's great, which is what you saw, right? But what happened is then, what's her face? Emma said, but it's still missing something. Do you still have the dress that you wore when I first saw you? Oh, that
Oh,
was my mother's dress.
I thought she was saying the dress you have on now. Okay, that's why I was confused. I was like, now why is she wearing a totally different dress? Got
Yeah.
it.
So after all that, she just went on and put a regular old rag.
So then, okay, so she comes down and Emma says, just when he thinks a look is complete, and Trevor says, I add just one more thing, and hands her this barrette.
Wow, Amelia, where did you get that? Did you get that in New York City?
I got this at TJ Maxx. Sarah.
You didn't get that at like Saks Fifth Avenue in New York
This
City?
barrette, which
What?
completes the look.
He was going to give her like a jacket, some boots, a
No.
huge diamond brooch. It was a barrette. But Amelia, but doesn't that barrette, I'm asking you though, doesn't that barrette come from a designer, a design house?
Yes.
I I can't believe you have it. I can't believe what I'm stunned by is that you have the same barrette. Like, I did not know you were such a
I'm a woman
fashionista.
of fashion.
I did not know this. That
So
was that was his thing. We're gonna elevate this. Here, put this barrette in. And she didn't even put it in real fun. It was
so
just like,
no. So what killed me also was Trevor was like, just when a look is complete, I add one more thing. And all I could think of is there's that famous quote from Coco Chanel, before you leave the house, look in the mirror and remove one accessory.
mhm.
Because less is more, not more is more, Trevor.
But she didn't even have more or anything. She had on her mom's old rag. It was
Oh,
whoa.
okay.
Whoa.
I
Whoa,
take it
this
back.
show just became something different. This show became a totally different. Suddenly, we're not just reviewing Christmas movies. We are
Wow.
fashionistas, just like that.
I've never been prettier.
Should we try to get on to New York Fashion Week next
Yeah.
year, Amelia? Take the show there?
Yeah.
Or are they ready for your level?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I've never seen a look be so quickly elevated than I have in this second.
It's a lot to think about. I better take it off because we're just going to be distracted. by
Yeah,
my
yeah.
All right. Emma goes outside and sees Edward J. Hawke um, talking to Jesse. And he's like, it is so smart that you got Classically Emma to promote your brand, even though I'm obviously a better bet for funding. I have. He's like, do you have the contract from Emma? And Jesse's like, it's here in my pocket. Why? First of all, like, why is it even on paper? Like, it's a DocuSign.
He pulled it out, but then he unfolded it and gave it to Edward J. Hawke to
He's like, it's
read.
right here. You want to see it? So Edward takes it and rips it up. He's like, ha ha! Like you can't print a new one.
I do that though anyway.
I don't know. So obviously Emma sees it and is like, he's signing with Edward J. Hawke. Like, obviously, if the other guy, he gave it to him to tear up in front of me because they're betraying me. There's no other explanation.
There's no other explanation. They clearly only brought me here to trick me.
Well, to get me to promote it so that they could get more money from Edward Hawke. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. So she tells Trevor that they were just using her for marketing so they could get a better contract with Edward. And he's like, well, we'll find a way to like use this for our own marketing, which I don't even understand. And she's like, yeah, I guess this is just one product, which no, it was a
Is
whole
it a
line. Or
line?
does she mean like one product in her stable of classically Emma? But it's not. Again, it's a whole line. So she's like, yeah, I guess it's just one product. And you're not meant to be with one product for the rest of your life. And
Mm.
Trevor's like, that felt personal.
I feel like she was talking about something else.
Again, I feel like you're reading a lot into a lot of things here. So
Also, was it just one product or was it the
it was a
product
line.
line? Was it
It
a
was a product
line?
line. So she goes up and starts giving her speech anyway. And I do not know what her plan was here.
I
But
didn't either. Everyone was really excited for whatever it was. Like everyone was in that barn, like it was full, it was a packed house. But
Mhm.
then I was like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah, I don't like obviously her original plan was to announce this line, but okay, so then she thought it was canceled. What was she planning to say? I guess it doesn't matter because she just starts crying and runs away.
We have not talked about this dress.
Okay, this is not a great American dress.
It was fine from the front. When she came in, I was like, oh, that's pretty. And she turned around and there was no back. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, backless. It had like a little string, like holding it closed.
scandalized. I was like, I don't know about this. How did this pass inspection? There was
I know.
entirely too much back in that shot
It was. It
for
was.
Great American.
It was, yeah. So she runs out and obviously runs to the Folly. And he's got this whole thing set up with like candles and, romance. And they're both confused. She's like, well, why did you do this? And he's like, why are you crying? And he's like, I didn't invite Edward Hawke. I still don't know who invited him. He's like, I want to work with you. And he gives her a giant like skeleton key to the inn. Okay.
A jar of body butter or something.
Like some maple syrup. I don't know.
He said, well, you're going to have your office here. So here's this
Is she?
symbolic key.
Whoever said that.
Right. That's what I said. I was like, I didn't even hear that part. I didn't get the really. Like, can't you do most of your work just via email if she's in New York? She's not making body butter.
Right. She's not fulfilling the orders.
Right.
She's just making her content. So back at the party, Trevor and Jill have taken over and it's just getting super weird. And it was like in The Wedding Singer when George is trying to take over. It's what it made me think of. And the crowd turns on him. Anyway,
That
the
crowd really turned too. I couldn't believe it. Then they started
Crowd, like-
chanting for Emma. I'm like,
They
what
were
do you
like-
think Emma's going to do?
Yeah. I mean, this crowd was like hostile.
They were.
It must be like a professional event. And I can see if you're at a professional event and, you don't get the speaker you expected and the speakers that show up are not doing a good job, like you're not happy. Okay. But they were openly hostile. It was weird.
Also, why can't Jill talk about her own product? That is the thing that blew my mind too. Like, okay, just go up there and tell them the story about that incredibly inspirational story about how you started your product line and saw a field of flowers.
And Trevor should be able to talk to some degree about classically Emma.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah. And then if he wasn't ambiguously gay, I thought maybe there would have been a moment for them to have a side plot romance. But
yeah. So Emma and Jesse have worked out their whole relationship and they come back, announce the line, which I still don't understand why it was his job or place to announce it when it should have been Jill. But okay. They all raise a glass of champagne. They have their first kiss in front of everybody. Everybody claps. And then,
like you do.
And then for absolutely no reason, there are literal fireworks. The end.
When they have the final kiss,
Mm-hmm.
and they're standing there with their glasses of champagne, and two actors turn in frame. And so they're in frame, but they're just still standing in the middle of that stage with two people on either side of them and the entire crowd looking at them. And it's not like we've talked about this before on this show, the awkward kiss at the end where everyone's looking at you and then they clap. But usually those people are at a distance. They're somewhere they're looking at you from the audience or peeking around a corner or something. These 2 were literally standing in the middle of, like, these their 2 friends, and then
Oh,
everyone
that's
looking at them,
tame.
and they stood there and had a whole conversation for, like, 3 minutes before they even kissed. I'm like, "What are these people on either side of them doing?" They're having this deeply intimate conversation, and I'm
Well,
like,
they don't have a life.
"I guess,"
The best friend and the sister, you know?
but the sister did kinda say it for me at the end, like, "Will you guys just kiss already?" Like,
Yeah.
that's kinda how I was.
Like, we're tired of standing here.
Yeah. And that was it. That was the end. Again, I just wanna make one last comment on this actress and her hands. I think this is maybe just the consequence of being a young actor or maybe inexperienced and you really don't know what to do with your hands. But let me just, like, do a little coaching for everyone out there. If you don't know what to do with your hands, ask for a prop to hold
Mhm.
or just, you know, pinch your sides and hold them by your sides and, like, hold your fabric between your fingers so you can't tell. But she was all up in here the whole time, and it made me feel very tense as a viewer, and because that is a tense position, and it made me think that she didn't like her wardrobe or her bra or something, like, that she was uncomfortable with what was going on up here. So the scene where the cheese scene, where they go to the Folly and have the cheese, they lay back, right? There's a scene where she lays back, and
Mhm.
I thought, "Okay, she's finally gonna get to relax her hands here." No, she laid back like she was in a
Like she's in a closet.
coffin. She was still all up here. I'm like, "Honey, this is your opportunity, like, play with your belt, put your hands by your
Yeah.
side, pick up a flower and do."
Behind your head, you know?
I just don't know what was going on. I would be interested. I bet there's a backstory there, but it did make me feel tense. And every single scene, she was just up in here. And even the last scene where she was kissing, she was. And I was like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Ladies, fine. You got to do something with the hands.
Figure it out.
That's it. Okay. Well, that is the end of the movie. The Beauty of Love or Sweet Maple Romance. Which would title would you prefer, Amelia?
I think I like Sweet Maple Romance. It's a little more specific to this movie.
I think Sweet Maple Romance, I think the Great America did a good job renaming that for their channel. I think it is a little more descriptive and it has a seasonal aspect to it, which we like as
Yeah.
well if you're doing these movies. I will say this. I did not enjoy this movie, and that's, it's Christmas land, so
Yeah.
you're always enjoying the movies, but
Not a though.
not because I thought the actors were great. The stuff was incredible.
We need to find it and go there.
Yes, that location was astounding. I can understand why you would wanna shoot a movie there, and they did a great job bringing us into all of the sets. I do also wanna say, Amelia, I actually looked up the cinematographer and the sound mixer because I thought the sound mixing was really good. I know that sounds nerdy, but I did notice a number of times, not only were the actors very clear, but I could hear I know there's nature sounds. I know that's hard to
Mhm.
pipe in. It takes some mixing on the back end, and I thought they did that really well, where it
Yeah.
sounded very natural. Every scene sounded like they were outside, very natural, and then the cinematography, I looked up this guy. I don't think I kept it up. But anyways, I looked him up because I thought the cinematography
Yeah.
was gorgeous and the only thing going for these people in a lot of these scenes. And you remember that one scene she was sitting on, like, the deck or the wharf, like, over by the lake? She was having a conversation with Trevor,
Mhm.
and she was working, but she was on a little setup, but she was on the lake, and she was on the deck, and it was a
Yeah.
drone shot. The drone
Yeah.
shot came in, and that's the first drone shot I've seen in Great America. That's the first drone shot. I definitely noted it, and I thought, "Wow, there's absolutely no reason for this shot." Like, it's not panning in on any action, and she's literally just talking on the phone, and then the scene is over. I thought it was a bit excessive. When I looked up the cinematographer, he does action films.
Oh,
His
thank
entire pedigree is action movies, and it made some of those shots make more sense. Anyway, I thought, well done, because it added some interesting layers to scenes that had none.
Okay, I just looked up where this was filmed. It was filmed at the Bomberhof in Oklahoma.
It's in Oklahoma, the Bomberhof. Let's write that
That never
down.
happens. It's always in Canada. Um,
Yes.
Usually when it's like a castle, we get Eastern Europe.
Right, the
A
Bomberhof.
lot of
Okay,
Romania for the castles, but I feel like now we need to go to Edmond, Oklahoma, and visit the Bomberhof.
uh,
Nestled amidst the serene countryside, the Bomberhof is a breathtaking haven for clients. I mean, yeah, it is.
bookmark that, girl. We need to take a field trip. The bomber hawk. Well, anyway, to the crew, well done. I definitely saw the technical expertise in this film. I will say that. I could see it. Okay, let's move on to some awards. Let's
Yes.
let's push past all the exposition and the walk
Yeah.
and talks and give out some awards.
And the Oscar goes to.
All right, so this is our portion of the show where we hand out awards for this movie. Our first award is the Robert A. Barron Award for Villainry. This is Best Villain. This is going to be tough. Amelia, who do you think the villain of this movie was?
Just gonna give it to Edward Hawke. Sure.
Yeah.
I
I'm
didn't feel
giving,
like there was that much of a villain, so sure.
but we knew he was a villain because he had a pudgy belly and he was wearing a suit and tie.
Mhm.
He's wearing a suit and tie,
Yeah.
and not to cast aspersions on the actor's shape. I just mean it was character. In character, he had a suit and tie, Amelia, so
You can't trust him.
you can't trust him. I had trouble, girl, with this one. Where
Yeah.
is the villain in this movie?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
decided the villain was New York City.
okay. You know what? I almost chose business. So,
Like New York City just was doing all of the
yeah.
villain work in this movie. It traumatized Jesse for some
Mhm.
reason. And Emma is not a New York City girl and doesn't really want to go back. And yeah, New York City is just where it makes these lovely, natural, kind, calm people into busy business people. And we don't like
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Our next award is the Christmas Ham Award. This goes to the actor or actress that we thought was just over the top, gave their all every second of the performance. Amelia, who did you pick for Christmas Ham?
Carl, the dad.
Carl. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I liked Carl. I think that he definitely was ringing the most out of all of his lines. I
Mhm.
gave mine to Jill. I
Oh,
thought
nice.
Jill was, and I mean it in the best of ways. It's not that she was super goofy. She knew what she was supposed to be doing, which is she
Mhm.
is just supposed to be friendly, smiley,
Mhm.
happy, warm, and that's what she was to the utmost in every scene. The utmost, like the
Yeah.
most warm, the most smiles, the
Mhm.
most laughter. She really and in that dinner scene, I felt like she was working hard to pull that scene
Yeah.
along. I did.
She was there to, like, facilitate the action, and
Yeah.
she
I thought she did a great job. So that's my Christmas Ham Award. All
okay,
right. And now for our top award. This is the Oscars of Christmas Land. Our Tree Topper Award for Best Performance. Amelia, who did you give yours to?
Betty.
Very good. I did like Betty. We get a lot of quality performances from the mature woman set in
Yeah,
Christmas Land.
and I really felt like she had the best performance. We didn't see that much of her, but I liked her the best. She was
I
my favorite
liked Betty.
character.
No, again, I go back to that moment when Carl was clearly being a goofball. And in a different movie, the actress would be pained, or,
Yeah,
sarcastic, but she just had such a sweetness about her.
yeah,
I like that. Okay, very good choice. My choice was Jesse. I thought our
yeah,
lead gentleman did a very good job
just
with what he
real.
had. Yeah, I thought he was handsome. I liked his style. I liked his attitude, and I would love to see more of him in the Christmas Land universe. But I'll tell you what, I would love to see Jill in the Christmas Land universe. I think Jill would be a great
Yeah,
leading lady.
yeah.
Yeah, I really liked her. All right, well, give us your choices. Drop them in the comments. Tell us what you think. I want to know what you guys think the villain was. Who was the villain? Business, New York City, or Edward J. Hawke, the esteemed business partner of Robert A. Barron? They're clearly in league together.
A lot to think about.
Um, yeah, but that is the beauty of love or sweet
Maple
maple
romance.
romance or whatever from Great American. Let us know what you think. Of course, you can, Amelia, put that flash away. You know what?
I
That's
don't mean to
very,
brag.
we're not like that on this show. We are not like that on this show. We're not shallow and
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's not about the fashion and the elite brands, Amelia.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. It's like we're just a homey cozy show. Oh, meaningful coziness. That, that was there.
We are rich and luscious.
Tell people, Amelia, before we go, where they can reach out to us.
You can find us. The best place is Substack, of course. We are also, though, on YouTube at Journey to Christmas Land. We are JT Christmas Land on X and Instagram, Journey to Christmas Land on Facebook.
Okay. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. We took a little spring trip this week, and thanks for your patience last week. Amelia, until we meet again, I wish you days of course, I wish you days filled with rich and luscious body cream.
Honestly, I wish you would stay at the Bomberhof. I just feel
Well,
like, yeah,
thank you. Matter of fact, when we get offline, let's talk about this.
let's do it.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.